Good day. It's the 31st of July 2025. The year is moving on, and it's reasonably good weather. Not quite settled, but not bad weather here in rural Ireland. The new Garda Commissioner. Several of my subscribers have asked me to comment on the new Commissioner, and sure, I'll do that now as best I can. Now, I thought with Fine Gael in government, the Commissioner would have to be a woman, and she would have to be lesbian, in a lesbian affair, with a lesbian daughter, who's married to a lad that came off the boat yesterday evening, and with a hard story about something or other, hard luck story, making us weep. It didn't happen in this case. Now, the minister is Fianna Fáil, and I'd say, you see, the trouble with the Gardaí for the government is, if they have a really dysfunctional Garda Síochána, their own homes and properties and lives are at stake. It doesn't suit the government not to have a fairly wise Garda, although the way they've been behaving recently is not in that direction. So anyway, we'll show you a picture of the new Commissioner, and here he is. Now, the first thing I'll say is I know nothing about him, but he would have served about 10 years in the Garda Síochána when I was a member. And maybe I met him, he could be a fella I met when I went up to Tala. In my time, cigarettes were in all the convenience stores, and the Dublin Couriers would come down and rob them. And some places, we'd go after them. In my division, we went up and arrested them. In other divisions, they wouldn't. There was a super in Cork that told me it didn't matter what anyone did in his area. If they left his area, he would not send guards after them. It was up to the guards in the other area. So in other words, if a Dublin courier went down and robbed the whole place in Mallow in County Cork, now I don't know what that, it was somewhere down there. It mightn't be just Mallow, but in Mallow, we'll say for the sake of argument, and he went home to Dublin, this superintendent would expect the guards in Dublin to investigate, and the guards in Dublin had no interest in that. In other words, he would investigate nothing. Whereas I would go up, and in fact, I failed to catch a prisoner one time because he robbed on the Monday, and I knew on the Tuesday who did it, but he robbed on the Tuesday, and he wasn't back in time. I was at his door in Dublin, one of them low-class areas of Dublin. I think it was Dalkey, one of them places you'd want to wear a helmet, a First World War soldier's helmet. Dalkey is a funny. And Ranelagh. Oh, Ringsend. Oh God Almighty. Killiney is a wee bit better, but not much. But anyway, I got up. When I was knocking at the door, he was behind me, looking at me doing it, and he was away down the street a bit. He told me after, that's why I didn't get him. That's the difference in the efficiency. That meant nothing would have come for promotion, but I did get some money out of the state for going up there. Anyway, that's his picture there again, right there. And we'll read a bit about him, and we'll give an opinion. Now, I can tell you, he is 57 years of age. And I count that as a plus, because he'd normally retire at 60, but he gets 5 years from his appointed commissioner, so he'll serve till he's 62. It's not this idea that they had long ago, appointing fellas of 42. They appointed some chief superintendents about the age of 41 and 2 when I was in it, and they couldn't be got rid of when they were total and utter disasters that remind you of Prince Harry would be about the best way of describing them. And Meghan. That's the kind of people they were. And then they couldn't get rid of them. And the officers and the TDs would be in the government. Who let him in there? But they did. So now this is good. So if he's a wrong one, he has only 5 years to do it. And if he's a right one, well, that's good enough. He can do a lot of good in 5 years. And I go again, if I didn't say it, look, I'm going to be charitable. That's not a bad appearance. That's not a bad appearance. Not a bad appearance at all. Very, very, you can't really cheat your own appearance. That's why I look in the mirror now and again just to see the real expert. Anyway. Now, so we read about him. The government has appointed current Deputy Commissioner Justin Kelly as the new Garda Commissioner. Now, he has a lot of people under him. He has 12,000. Nearly no police force in the world has that amount. The London Metropolitan Police is nearly the nearest thing to it. It's a very large number of people. Like the Somerset Police in England might only have 2,000 people, or maybe some other part of rural England, Coventry. It's a lot of people. Now, one of the things he'll have to do is dismiss people. He gets the file, and the dismissal can be various reasons. It used to be for pounds, stealing money. I remember one time I investigated a crime and we got all the property back. And the judge, for some reason, made an order that £1,600 had to be paid by the culprit. I caught him. And he brought it to court and he gave it to me. The court was adjourned, you see, to allow him to pay it. So I had informed the court the money was paid. But the injured party wasn't in court and had no real way of knowing that there was 1,600 ordered to give to him. So if I had to pocket that 1,600 or just leave it by and say I forgot about it and pull it out now, but it'd get changed in Dublin, like that'd be cheating. It would be larceny and stealing. And if I was caught at that, they'd sack me. If they caught that I did that, they'd sack me. I didn't even think of doing it. I was delighted to go out and give it to the people, and the people couldn't believe, why are we getting this? You got the stuff back. Well, I said, it's a kind of a wee thing the court did. And thank you very much. That was it. But anyway, so I didn't do it in that case, but the temptation is there. So pounds is one thing, property is the next. Property, taking property and not accounting for it. There's a very strict property thing. By the way, if you find something on the street, suppose it's no good. If it's no good, throw it out. If it's something that's very good, like a photograph of me, for example, I found that, very rare. Or something, maybe a good clock or something. I can't say a mobile phone. Say a mobile phone. You don't have to give it into the guards. A lot of people like to get rid of it. The guards hate to see it coming. You don't have to get it. You can just give the details and keep it. And if it's kept for a year and a day, you can keep it. Guards that prefer you didn't. Most people say, no, guard, you keep it. It's a curse. Oh, you want to see the bookwork that's on that. Anyway. So he replaces Drew Harris, who was appointed. Now, Drew Harris was woke. It's very hard to say how much woke was. He was in a government with Eamon Ryan, that man, mad Ludamon, and Helen McEntee, who still elected by the people of Nobber. They deserve to suffer. And they deserve. They'll never have luck for electing one like that. She's incapable of being cured. And I know all belonging to her. She is as woke as you would get. That is a dirty, rotten condition for any human being to have. And Drew Harris was woke. But then Jim O'Callaghan's not much better. The Fianna Fáil crowd have a wee bit more sense. Anyway, well, we'll wish Drew Harris a happy and healthy retirement. He was the first officer from Northern Ireland to be appointed as commissioner, and it was a new departure. It's done now. Good luck to him, for his family. He did keep the force together, and that has to be said. And I suppose you have to say he done the best he could. And that's all anyone else could do. But lots of things went wrong in the force. But anyway, we leave it like that and wish him good luck. It's not healthy. It's an unlucky thing to begrudge. I wouldn't do that to him after years in the police. Now, so it'll be September the 1st when Drew retires. Deputy Commissioner Kelly has served over 30 years in all ranks. I was 32 years in the Garda Síochána and was appointed as Deputy Commissioner Security Strategy and Governance in October last, that's 2024. So he served in all ranks. You see, they could appoint a civilian that would never serve in all ranks. So he served in all ranks. So he was previously Assistant Commissioner in charge of serious and organised crime. Not a bad accolade now. No matter how bad you'd be, some good work was done. I mean, there was a lot of good crimes solved. I'm not just knocking the guards altogether. It's just that the government makes it impossible. They just get in your way at every stage. So anyway, I used to be there, and I'd come in the morning. And I'd want to get some jobs done, and if the boys lined it up, we'd have a few. I was always trying to get a bit of overtime for them, which is only natural. And do you know what used to happen? Somewhere, somebody might be. We'll say, pick a place. I'll pick Clogherhead, definitely not one. So they might suspect a fella had a whole load of drugs, or a whole load of explosives, or a whole load of guns in a house in Clogherhead, and they'd want to raid him. But they knew if they went in direct that he'd suspect somebody squealed, somebody touted. So they'd search about 10 places, including one in mine. And I'd get the word to go down and search this place, and there'd be a warrant issued. And the whole idea would be so they wouldn't know. They say, they searched 10 places. So the guards, that Martin Madford sergeant was down, and he searched Johnny Willie McTiernan. So they just got lucky, that was the idea. But that'd mean your day was gone. That happened an awful lot. And you come in and you want to get rid of files, and something had happened, or the post office would be robbed. It was a terror like that. I'm not really making much of an issue. I'm just trying to let you know how it worked for me. So anyway, he was previously Assistant Commissioner in charge of serious and organised crime, responsible for the national units and investigations into drugs and organised crime, cybercrime, economic crime, immigration, and crimes against vulnerable persons. That doesn't look like a bad CV to me. I don't know what you think, but it looks like a good enough CV. And, as I say again, he passes the appearance test. Deputy Commissioner Kelly also served as Operational Counter-Terrorism Unit and Special Detective Unit and the National Protective Services Bureau, and was a uniformed Garda, uniformed sergeant and inspector in Clondalkin, Blanchardstown, Tala and Dublin. Now, I would just point out, according to the normal commissioners in Dublin, the whole country ends outside the DMA, the DMR. County Dublin, you're either in it or you're nobody. It's the same in Monaghan. Outside the Century Homes on the Cloners Road, there's no guards at all. There's nothing happening. Every area has this tendency of thinking those that the chief sees. If he can see you, oh, you're a great fella. You could be doing great work somewhere else. They're incapable of evaluating somebody they don't see every day. Having said that, don't jump down my throat. Was served as the Operational Counter-Terrorism Unit, the Special Detective Unit, that's what I was in, the National Protective Services Bureau, don't know what that is. I'd say that's protecting ministers and that. And was uniformed Garda and a sergeant and an inspector in Clondalkin, Blanchardstown and Tala. Well, they're slightly upmarket places now. I'd think more of him if he was in a rough area, like Dalkey. Irish Town. Donnybrook. Oh my God. Oh, that's where you prove yourself. I'm telling you. In there was a guard called Simon Haw. I might do a video on him sometime. He got into a bit of bother. I'll explain that again in Kevin Street. And he was shifted out to, I think it was Dalkey, and he had to come in for a court, and he called into the station, and they were having the tea, and someone was talking to him. Tell us, what's it like out there? It's all right, it's the best. It's just getting hard to get used to it. There's not as many people around, And so some guard to him, tell me this, is there any gurriers out there? Gougers and gurriers are really, a gouger is a male gurrier. A gurrier can be a gouger. It's a low class criminal pup or whelp from Dublin. He has to be from Dublin. It's hard to describe them, but anyway, is there any gougers out there? There is, he says. There's gougers out there surely, but they're a better class of gouger. Anyway. So now, the fact that he was a uniformed sergeant and inspector, that's not a bad thing. But you see, he got a fair go. You see, when he went up to be superintendent, he got a fair clap on the back. Whereas down the country, he wouldn't. The other thing, he was lucky in that the black mark didn't come out. The black mark means that if you had a superintendent like Father Brendan Smith or Harvey Weinstein, that type of a bucko, or some kind of a screwed up split personality person, which there were, if he put a black mark on you when he was only you were only in the first 2 years and he was retiring, that never goes. So that's the first thing this man must do. Get rid of that black mark. That is a fatal thing. Many a good career was destroyed because some twisted out superintendent or chief superintendent wrote them down, and that never leaves the file, and you never know it's there. So I'd like that to be made clear to new people joining the Guards. Having said that, it's not just maybe as bad now as it was. So anyway, he has been about a bit and he's been in uniform, so that he's clicking a lot of good boxes for me, I tell you that. He has a degree. Now, if I get cut off here, I'll make another one. He has a degree from UCD. Well, it's good enough. Now, my degree is Institute of Public Administration in Lansdowne Road. We are a slightly more upmarket. My degree is slightly more, how do you put it? In the university, there's pictures of all the past professors and everything, Now, it didn't put me up there yet. So anyway, we'll not run down UCD either. No, we're not going to start running down. They're all woke now, of course, but I don't know about the Institute of Public Administration. But I got a bit of a grant in the Guards for doing it, Only for it, I know nothing. Anyway, we'll not knock UCD, but the Institute is the sort of premier. It's for the super intellect, those people who have just that little extra piece of intellectual capacity, put it like that. Anyway, not to worry, that's all right. The UCD is all right. An MBA, that'd be a Master of Bachelor, an MBA from DCU, Master of, tell me what that is. It's a business, so Master of something anyway. Not sure, Master of BA. My degree is BBS, Bachelor of Business Studies. I have an honours degree in it, Bachelor of Business Studies. And I pulled a few of them up. There was one lassie couldn't pass, and she couldn't pass a snail. And I knew her father. I'd be paring the pencil and giving her tips. Anyway. He has an MA in Serious Crime Investigation from the University of Limerick. No better spot for serious crime than Limerick. Is there any non-criminals in it? I think there's 3 or 4 people that's not criminals. Oh, jeez, Limerick. He was a brave man to go down there. Asked me to do public speaking, and I accidentally said something about Limerick, and they blew a fuse. Who the hell do you think you are coming here to tell us where to get Limerick? He's from Limerick. Oh, the time has run out, folks. I hope if I get cut off, it'll have to do. So, criminal justice now. He is an MA, Master of Arts in Serious Crime Investigation from the University of Limerick, and that Master of Arts in Criminal Justice from the J College, New York. Oh, no, he's not so bad. Oh, he couldn't. He had, that's not bad. And completed the Strategic Command course. Oh, wait a minute. At the UK College of Policing. You see, he could have had pull. I'd love to know, was his father in the job, or had he an uncle a commissioner, or an uncle high up in the job. You see, when you have the clap on the back and you're told from your father or your uncle, you study, you know you're going to get on. Whereas if you're down in Carrick-on-Shannon and you do these courses, they don't know you. And that's the very unfair thing about the assessment process. For those who are in the know, and those who are well placed, it benefits them. For those that doesn't, they retire, and they're wasting their sweetness on the desert air. Having said that, Strategic Command Corps in UK College of Policing, not too bad either. There was a book supplied to superintendent's offices on British policing by a man called Boneyard. And I'm the only man in Ireland to have read it. I got a lend of it off the superintendent and I read it. I'm the only one. No one ever bothered reading it. You might be giving books to those fellas. So that's not too bad. He was seconded to work for the United Nations in Bosnia-Herzegovina in 2021. I didn't know we still had people out there. Where he worked monitoring and building the capacity of local law enforcement. No, it's not a bad CV. Somebody may say, oh, you don't know him. Oh, we know all about him. It's not a bad CV, folks, even for all I say. Commissioner Harris said his extensive experience and expertise in leading a wide range of operational and organisation areas will be of a measurable benefit to him as Commissioner. So we have to say in benefit to Commissioner Harris, normally they'd crucify a man like that. He'd be a threat to them. I just wonder, has he anyone in the job belong to him? But he was allowed to go on and do his thing. That's not a privilege which is open to most Gardaí. Justin has over 30 years of dedicated and highly professional service in the Garda Síochána, said Drew Harris. It looks like that myself. During this time, he has held many significant portfolios preventing and tackling crime and terrorism. I'd say that's true. This has included senior roles in the areas of national security, cybercrime, organised crime and domestic and sexual violence, Commissioner Harris has said. I remember one time I had to go up to interview a person in Clondalkin, and I got permission to use my car, and I drove up. And when I drove up, I went into Clondalkin, and their job was to bring me out as the local Garda. It was a female and a male member. I think there were 2 females, Bring me out in the patrol car and go into the house and get the statement. And on the way, there was a serious row and there was no one else to go to it. And they had to go in and deal with the row, a domestic dispute. And there was skin and hair flying. And there was me sitting out in the car from easily 3 p.m. till 5 p.m. There must have been 2.5 hours, maybe longer, and me sitting there. And by the time I got up to my person, they had gone. They waited for me and they said, you never came. Had to go back again. I'm only telling you that it happened to me. I was a very active guard. That's one thing they couldn't take away from me. But when you went in for promotion, there was one time I had like 7 people under my command in the station I was in, and we found more equipment and plants and stolen property in the first 6 months than it cost to pay the whole lot of us. We found more property, and I went up for interview to the board, and there was a big lad there with a belly on him like a harvest frog, and I told him this, and he looked up at the ceiling. That's your job. Absolutely no credit at all. Now, having said that, you know the sort of me. I might be the sort that wouldn't want these jobs anyway, although I could pass myself off in big company. Anyway, so yeah, he looks forward. The existing commissioner looks forward to working with him in the next few weeks. That's grand. Personally, I want to wish him and his family all the best in him leading this great organisation and continuing its mission of keeping people safe, the commissioner said. Now here's another picture that there's the Taoiseach, that Micheál Martin. That is not a right person. That fella's a wrong one. Don't care what you say. In a statement, the Garda Representatives Association congratulated him. I hope he goes to their conferences, but I don't know. He didn't. The last commissioner used to go. Commissioner Kelly has had a long and distinguished career in the Garda. Blah 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 blah. Challenging. Yeah. Okay. Ronan Seven made a statement. He said, Mr. Key urged me to prioritise addressing the recruitment and retention issues. I have done videos on that. When there's inflation, when prices are going up, the guards get subsistence allowance for being away from their station for 5, 13 or more hours. You also get permission to use your car if there's no public transport, or if there's extenuating circumstances, or if you're bringing 3 other guards that it costs more to bring them on the bus than you'd get. You can put in a claim. And there's a book of claims, or a register of claims. You see, it's just a book. And but they put up the cost. They issue a circular. And they put up the cost per mile maybe from 82 cent to 91 cent. And they put up the sub from 5, I remember it was 5 and 8 pence for 5 hours, €5. They put that up maybe to €6 or 6 or something. And so they were entitled to arrears. And they expected the detective sergeant and the sergeants of stations to calculate the arrears. If you had no staff, you had to calculate it. And I was there, and they were shouting about IRA and UVF and crime and everything else, and protecting people and protecting VIPs and everything. And here I was, adding up 2 from that and that and that, and put over here, out and do it and do it. And you had to show the copy of it, and it had to add, and you had to add it up the way and across the way. And each guard might be entitled to maybe £7 or €7.50. And this has had to be done, and I'd say it's still being done. They couldn't employ somebody that had an education to do it. And over in Seven Sisters Roads in London, the station orderly was a civilian. And back in Ireland, it's the detective sergeant had to count the pennies. Not to talk about station orderly. And then, up to about 10 years ago, the firearm certificate, you had to write out each gun licence and count for the money and get it all added up and get a money order. I'd say yet no, there's no secretarial services in the country at all. That's something needs to be straightened up. Why would you be training a guard like this chap, if he had to get promoted, and have him counting pennies? It's ridiculous. Anyway, so now, speaking on RT Drive Time, he said he would press Mr. Kelly to make a case to the government that the existing terms and conditions of employment need to be improved to make joining the force more attractive. Like, one of the great things I could retire on 30-year service. I joined at 19. And I was working for 2 years before that. I joined at 19. I could go the day I was 50. I didn't. I served on until I was 52. I got a bit of a job with the local community here to just come up, and I just did it for a couple of years, and then I retired to the farm. But that's what kept you going. Sometimes the abuse you'd be getting from your officers was unbelievable. Some of them would be mad villains and queer fellas. And you'd have guards working with you sometimes. There was guards often in stations and they were an embarrassment. You know, they didn't help you, but it's the pension that kept you going. And I'm availing of it now. I can tell you I earned every penny. Every penny. Now, to make the case for the government that the existing terms and conditions of employment need to be improved. Well, I don't know. I think they're kind of gone now. It's very unfortunate that decent men and women can't join the guards because of the mayhem that Helen McEntee put into it. We are losing close to 500 members every year. I think that certain small changes to the current policy and direction in which Garda Síochána is doing could address at least 100 or 200 of these, he said. If we manage to keep 100 or 200 extra guards in the force a year, it would be going a long way to try to increase the number we have. Mr. Seven said that we had written to Mr. Kelly to formally request a meeting to discuss the association's concerns. And there's some of that right, but I've never found the associations to be on the ball. One of the things that caused me to go, I could have stayed on longer. I was involved in crime in my district. And the local chief got this big notion that you needed more conferences. And they'd organise a conference of detective sergeants from maybe meeting in Longford from the rest of the country. And they'd be discussing criminals in their area. There was only about 5% that were travelling. One lad had the name of the Bullet. He'd travel all over the country. But the majority were local criminals. So you'd be there sitting, listening to them talking about, we'd say the Big Head from Tullamore. And he went out and he robbed a house. But he'd never be up my side. And they thought this was a great idea. Meanwhile, it took me a whole day to go down there. And it took me another day to prepare for it. Then in your divisional headquarters, you'd go in for your county and they'd be asking you, who took that lady's handbag out there at the graveyard? And you'd have to study this. So it was 2 days studying and ringing up to get talking to guards before you could know the basics. Meanwhile, you had several important crimes to do, and it was the job of the local Gardaí and the local sergeant, I don't know if they're any now, to investigate that. It shouldn't have been the detective sergeant. The detective sergeant's job was to help and provide the law, and very often you'd get a guard out in the station, ring me up, who say, Val, what's the story? Look, I have a case here. I wonder what do I do? And I'd be able to tell him precisely and I'd tell him accurately. And that was a great service I was able to do. But I ended up often doing it myself. And then the superintendent would become near retiring. We'd throw it out to Val. And I'd have that hyped of paper. There was no such thing as allocating work. And there were certain members of the Garda who couldn't investigate anything. Most of the sexual assaults couldn't be investigated by the general body of guards. There was a few of us could do it. They couldn't take the statement right. And they get all emotionally involved. And there was a CID course up in Dublin and they were teaching us how to deal with sexual assaults. And my idea of a sexual assault was you treated the lady right, you got all the medical, you got all the evidence. If it was a man, you did the same. And you got the detail down as quick and you moved as quick as you could and you got the evidence, which was your job. The Garda station may have been a place to provide a little bit of solace, a little bit of help. She needed nursing or doctor's attention and let her parents into or whatever. But your job was to get the truth, in which could, in some cases, be lies she could be telling. But this lady came in anyway from the National Rape or something part. I tell you one thing, I was asking her something. Sure, how do you know you wouldn't be raped going home? How do you know some boys wouldn't catch you and rape you? Huh? She was trying to impress upon me the need to take rape seriously. And it was unnecessary. There must have been a culture among the Dublin crowd that guards would avoid investigating rapes. But a lot of the cases, the supers wouldn't give them the resources anyway. But anyway, that was my experience. I mean, she had some bloody neck, and I told her, who the hell do you think you are? Think we don't know? So that's not your job at all. And I told her, our job is not to provide consolence and shoulders to cry on. Our job is to investigate it. That's our job. And get the case for court. And only a certain amount could do it. 1/4 of all cases the guards investigated were sex cases. And I told you a few things in it. No. And long ago there was none of that. There was no such thing as rape. A man couldn't be convicted of raping his wife. So that's it. Personally, I wish him luck. Well, that's all right. It's all the usual thing. He's in there. Look there are losing people. It is a shame that we don't have a good police force. It is a wee bit of a touchy price of me. I have to admit I have a soft spot for the guards being there. The reason I joined it was I was nearly killed in a bus crash near Carrickmacross when I was a young lad. I was only 14. And I was dying. They pulled me out and I was dying. I was fainting and seeing. I was dying, like, really. My arm was broke. And when they got me out, didn't the guard come down? A good lump of a guard came down and the bus was away from the blank. And didn't he go in with his shoes into the river? And when they pulled me out, my eyes opened and I seen his uniform. I never forgot that sight. Here was his uniform and his whistle and all. And it was probably one of the reasons why I did join the Garda. And he was the same man came out when they were recruiting. He came out to my place here and he said, would you join up? You know, like, and I did. And that's the way it was. Don't they tell you, oh, you're only an old Queen service. That's all you are. An old British. That's all the provos. These is the very same crowd shouting at gravestones and everything. And now they have the place full of migrants. There was a stabbing yesterday done by a Pakistani Irish that described him an RTE, some kind of an immigrant. I don't know is he first generation or not. So that's what we have. Anyway, to sum up, a good video, 33 minutes. The new commissioner, he looks all right. You know, he does look all right. He looks like a lad could crack a joke. I wonder, does he play golf? Now, it's not... Playing golf is a big negative with me because it's a swanky fella's game. You know, I'm an old farmer with cows. But Trump is a golfer. And I'm a fan of Trump's, you know. So I wonder, does he play golf? Anyone post underneath? Well, sure, look at... Nobody's perfect. Nobody, probably in the Westminster Golf Club. And that's where I was caught too. If I had to be out playing golf with them, and there was a chief superintendent playing golf one time with a crowd of guards. They used to have an annual outings, and didn't the chief hit the ball and he knocked it into the lake? There was a guard with him or a sergeant, and he was very, very upset about the poor chief, you know. I tell you, I said, Chief, why don't you play my ball? I seen a guard one time years ago when I joined first over in Sligo, and he had the wee rubber, the wee stamp that you stamp the mail with, and he had a Wellington, and he tried to put the wee stamp into the Wellington, into the station. Anyway, I've been asked to make a video. May I say to Justin Kelly, I wish you luck. Genuinely wish you luck. I just hope you have common sense. I actually think he has a bit of common sense. The right thing would be get Val Martin up there. I'd soon mark your card for you. Very good. And that's another thing used to happen. It used to annoy guards a lot. You get a new super or a new chief, a new superintendent, come to a place like, we'll say, Carrick-on-Shannon. And the old lad had come in and he tried to impose his bias on the new lad. In other words, that Johnny Reilly, that's a bad watch that's a bad egg. And then he'd say, that Val Martin, I wouldn't trust that fella. He'd mark the card of the superintendent. The thing to do with them is tell them, get to hell out. I seen a superintendent running, a retired superintendent. I'm not talking about this. That's not my job. Your man didn't like it. Your man didn't like it. Okay. We'll see. It's a difficult job. Haven't I done my bit? Have I explained all? Again, for Justin Kelly, I wish him luck. Isn't that the best I can do? If is there something I don't know about? How do I know? But I worked with the guards in Dublin. I was a guard in Kevin Street. And I was a guard in Balbriggan. And I loved Balbriggan. I should have stayed in it. I loved it, and they liked me well, and the people I got on well. It was a good spot. I regret leaving it and didn't go back and stay there. I'd say I'd have been a chief superintendent if I had to stay in it. So, yeah, good on him. Good luck. We need a good police force. I hope if people are finding themselves a victim of crimes that they're Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. In fairness, Sinn Féin hasn't been in power, like it's very hard to do. But definitely, for luck's sake, those who get abused in nursing homes and that, if they're Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael voters, well, they deserve it. They brought that on themselves. So that'll be my way of thinking on that. But we don't want anyone abused at the same time. I wouldn't like to be abused in a nursing home. But that's what's ahead of us, because with the dysfunction and this green climate change baloney, that's where you're heading, unless we can get it changed. We'll see you back. Covered underneath. Good luck. Bye-bye.